Good morning, and welcome to the Phil Taylor Jones Show. I know it's been quite a while since last we've talked. I've been on a little bit of hiatus, but now I'm back with a new focus and new ideas, and some of the same old ones, I guess. Well, today's focus is the housing problem here in Los Angeles, possibly the country, but I'm speaking specifically from the Los Angeles point of view because this is where I live and this is where friends and family and acquaintances reside. Well, you know, they say that tenants, I'm speaking basically about apartments here, tenants have rights. This is true. You have the right to pay your rent. You have the right to keep your mouth shut if there are things in your building that are substandard. And you have the right to pay your rent. That's our rights as tenants. I don't care what other people say, what the government officials may say, or what the housing authority may say. That's basically it. The landlords have all the rights because they own the property, they own the building. I have a friend, very close friend, and she lives in this bachelor type apartment. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with a bachelor type apartment, it's a very small unit, doesn't necessarily have a bedroom. Their bathroom, cooking facilities, just a very small kitchen, and just a little small living space, closet if you're lucky. She pays approximately $800 for this very small unit. There's no dedicated parking. As far as ventilation is concerned, all the windows are on one side of the apartment, period. You know, there's a ceiling fan, and that's it. It's very hot in there in the summertime, and very cold in there in the winter because, yes, there is a heater, but it doesn't work. The windows are held open with sticks. She's cut off sticks at various lengths to hold the windows open. Technically, the building is not very structurally safe. There's spooky wiring in there. You know, when you turn on switches, the television pops or the boombox pops or whatever. When the refrigerator comes on, you know, the little fan that helps the compressor pump the cold air through the unit. Okay, well, when that comes on, if the microwave is on, it shuts off just in a split second, but you can tell that something has come on to sort of interrupt that power. So that would mean that the electrics aren't what they should be. And $800 per month for this. No dedicated parking, she has to park her car on the street, and it's subject to being ticketed by the stupid parking enforcement, and that's a whole nother show, because those bastards got me the other day, but we'll talk about that on another show in another segment. But it's more prone to getting ticketed by those bastards. It's more prone to vandalism. You know, as you know, suppose having the car under lock and key in its own dedicated parking spot under the building, or you know, somewhere about the building. It's pretty close to transportation, public transportation, like the metro and the metro rail, the buses and things like that. So I mean, that's okay. But my thing is, for these apartments to be astronomically priced, and I haven't even scratched the surface. I'm just talking about this friend of mine who is living in this building. But I mean, if you look at rents here in Los Angeles, they can go from, and the apartment she has is kind of dirt cheap, it's kind of below the radar. Usually they start out at about $1,600 per month, and they can go all the way to $15,000 per month, depending on where you live. Now, if you live out near the beach, you're going to expect to go dig down in your jeans or your bank account, and you're going to pay a mint. And it's still not worth it in my estimation, even though you live near the beach and your building may be structurally sound, it may be safety, checked up the yin yang, but it's still not worth no $15,000 a month. Are you kidding me? But anyway, back to my friend. So she got to talking to me the other day, and she said, you know, Phil, this is really bad because I feel like I'm paying my money and I'm not getting my money's worth. And I say, you're really not, because if you think about it, you're being frauded by this unscrupulous slumlord, because the building is filthy. I mean, you know, the manager, she has, doesn't get off her fat butt and then sweep the building. Then there are these, it's full of foreigners, and they're subject to get, you know, a plate of food like chicken or whatever, and leave the chicken bones all over the place. They, you know, urinate on the floor. They crap on the floor, and there's bed bugs there. There's roaches, not in her unit because she's clean, but well, there are some in her unit because no matter how clean you are, they manage to come in. The roaches are fighting with the bed bugs as to who gets the chance to come in first. I mean, it's just a mess. And the girl has welts all over her body where the bugs have bitten her and what have you. And the manager won't do anything. So she says, I'm not getting my money's worth. I say, you're not. And here's the reason you're not. Now, I can't speak to every other place in the United States, but I certainly can speak to Los Angeles. We have what is known as the LA Housing Authority. And these landlords, they go down there every year and they pay X amount of dollars. I don't know how much. I think it was $13.25 or something like that a year or so ago. I don't know exactly the dollar amount, but they pay a dollar amount per unit. And that certificate that they receive per unit is stating that the building is structurally sound, it's mechanically safe, and it's free of vermin, rodents, bugs, etc. You know, creepy crawlies. All right, then that certificate is then presented to each tenant, which also allows the unscrupulous bastards to go up on your rent and even charge you for the certificate and what have you. Because what this certificate means is that your apartment is cool. You know, it's a cool place to live. It's good. Everything works. You don't have to be worried about being bit up the butt by bed bugs or rats or whatever. It's cool. It's tight. Well, that bastard that rents her the apartment lied. He defrauded the LA Housing Authority, and he defrauded her and all the other tenants in her building, because that building is terrible. That's the stuff that's going on here in California, and probably all over the country. In Los Angeles, it's running rampant because, okay, with this housing problem, people aren't really able to go out and buy a house because of the interest rates and, you know, the pricing of the house, because house prices here in California, especially LA area, are just ludicrous. So they can't really afford to buy. So what's the next best alternative? You go and rent. Well, now it's a renter's market. You know, the landlord's going right up on the rents, and you know, because they know people are kind of desperate for somewhere to live, and they're bilking people of hundreds of millions of dollars a year in fraudulent rents, because half of these places are dumps. I would let I bought my brother a pet, a stuffed wombat. You know, little cute Australian creature. Some of them are kind of fat, you know, and they're real cute. I wouldn't let his stuffed wombat stay in some of these filthy tenements. They're just that bad. And what kills me is that nobody's really addressing this. Not the mayor, not the governor, not the president. That's another show too. Nobody's addressing this. And then you get these people that have these talk shows. And what do they talk about? They talk about baby mamas and baby daddies and who's having sex with this one and how many women this guy slept with and how many men this other girl slept with, or how many guys a guy may have slept with. My point is, that's not worth a tinker's damn. When there are issues, pressing, hard issues that need to be discussed that are pertinent to our everyday lives. I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk about that ever, but I mean, talk about some more hard-hitting issues that make us, you know, want to say, well, hey, yeah, that applies to me. That's a good show, okay? Now, here's what I would do with this problem. Suppose I'm the mayor, and I want to make things better in my city. They're always talking about creating jobs and all this kind of razzmatazz. Okay, I would get with the housing authority and I would say, okay, let's hire on 3,000, maybe 4,000 new investigators to go out to each and every one of these tenements, check it from top to bottom, stem to stern, for everything. Send a team out there to check electrics, to check structural integrity of the building, to check for vermin, and do all of this before one of those rentability certificates is issued to these unscrupulous bastard landlords. Make sure that the building is safe. Make sure that the people who are paying the money, tenants, are getting their money's worth. Oh, and just to throw this in, sometimes you go to a place and, oh, you can't have a dog, you can't have a cat, but there's bed bugs biting you up the ass. Last time I looked, dogs don't leave chicken bones and beer bottles all over the place, and beer cans, liquor bottles, okay? Yeah, they might pee on the floor, or they might put a little poopsie on the floor there, but it's nothing to the things that humans do. They don't tag all over the walls and knock the screens out so they can put their shoes there to dry. And they certainly don't put crap-filled toilet paper in the garbage can for the other tenants to smell. They don't do that. But you can't have a dog. Okay, back on my subject here, what I would do. Yes, you're defrauding not only the city housing department, but you're defrauding your tenants by lying and saying that your every unit in your building is structurally sound, is mechanically sound, and is vermin-free. So I'd send that team out there to do that investigation. If the building passed inspection, then I would have the certificate of rentability issued to that landlord or his or her agent, manager, you know, or what have you. Now, if the building came up short and it did not pass inspection, I would red tag that building and give the landlord written notice that if the building repairs, refurbishments, renovations aren't completed by a specific amount of time, contingent upon what is needed to be done and how much of it is to be done, if it's not completed in that amount of time, that your building, you rather, are going to be fined $5,000 per day that it is not done, and that your tenants are going to stop paying rent until it is done. Face it. How many of you own cars out there? What are the requirements for your owning that car? One, it's got to be mechanically sound. You can run over somebody and kill them. You run into somebody and kill them. Kill yourself. It's got to be insured. If it's not insured and registered properly, that's a problem. Okay, you get pulled over. What happens? Or could happen. You could lose your car. But why aren't these unscrupulous bastard landlords, you know, held to the same standard? One offense, we dance. 2 offenses, you sit down. 3 offenses, you lose your building. Because you obviously don't know how to run a building. You don't know how to maintain a building. You don't know how to keep your tenants safe. So you lose your building. But no, none of that's done. These people are getting away with bloody murder. About a year or so ago, I did a video on water, the freshness of water in buildings, like, you know, apartment buildings, what have you. Now, in the apartment I live in, I have, my brother and I, we have a water filter. You know, one of those little ones you attach to the faucet and the water runs through, you click it and you get the fresh water over here and you get the you know, regular tap water. Okay, we have one of those. So there's my friend. Now, it's a shame that we have to go through that kind of problem. The building that she lives in was built back in the 1920s. About 1923 or so. It's supposed to be a reconverted brownstone. Now the piping in that building has no doubt not been changed since the building was built. So if they're pumping in fresh water from the reservoir, that may be cool, but it's still got to run through these rusty pipes in these buildings. Now, to tell you the truth, our building isn't that new either, so I would imagine our pipes haven't been redone either. That's something else, because you're drinking the water off these nasty pipes and it's causing all kinds of problems in your body. There's all kinds of nasty things creeping around in the water pipes, and they come out in your water glass and you drink them down, and now they're creeping around in you. Okay, so that would be another thing I would put out there. If your building is over 15 years old, certainly over 20, you need to repipe, and you need to give certification of that. You know, there comes a time when we need to start thinking about what's going on in our country. You know, our country is falling apart. I don't know if you've been listening to the news, but we're in this horrible drought. And I'm going to touch more on this in my next video when I talk about somebody needs to step up and run this country. That's the next video. I'm going to touch on it here. You've been hearing about, we've been in this horrible drought. It's like a mega drought, because we've been in the drought now for like 3-4 years. And it's really supposedly bad here. They're having people spying on people. If you see somebody, if you see a water waster, call us at this news channel, or report to this newspaper, or go online to this place. They're cutting back on people washing their cars. They're cutting back on get this is really stupid. The city council is put out this moratorium in one of our cities, Pasadena. Probably others now, because I haven't really been following it, but I know it was in Pasadena. That you water your grass on certain days. If you get caught watering it, that's on a day that's not designated, you're going to get fined. The first fine is something like, I guess, $25, all the way up to $500. And it's been really hot here. I mean, it's been hot and muggy because, you know, the hurricane season is up, but you know, I don't know about over there on the east part of the coast, but we've been catching some hurricanes over here. Now, they don't get up as far as where I live in Los Angeles. They're down like around the tip of Baja, California, you know, just coming off the coast of Mexico. And, you know, it's a funny thing. Sometimes they get hung up in that little spot that's where there's a little slither of land coming out, and then there's a big spot. So they'll get up in there, and if they happen there, they cause problems for Arizona and, you know, parts of Mexico and what have you. But if they come around that little sliver of land and they're out in the Pacific Ocean, we here in Los Angeles catch the brunt of it, but it's in the form of like 20-foot waves and, you know, 15-foot waves, and the people are out there watching them, and you got your more experienced surfers out there, you know, going cowabunga, dude, and, you know, hanging 10 and busting 2, because sometimes they fall on their lips and bust them, but whatever, you know, so we get it that way. But still, we're in this drought, and it's been really hot and muggy. So here's the rub. If you water your grass on the days that you're not supposed to water, you get fined. And if you water the grass on the days you are designated, the grass doesn't get enough water and it turns brown. Then the city council comes and knocks on your door saying, hey, that lawn looks ratty. It's terrible. It's an eyesore to the neighborhood. And if you don't do something about it, we're going to fine you. Did you just not tell me that I can't water my grass, say maybe 4 or 5 days a week as opposed to 2 days a week? And is it not like 110 in the shade and the grass is literally parching? So it's damned if I water my lawn, and it's even more damned if I don't water my lawn? A point for consideration, how brilliant these politicians are. Wow, rocket science here. Okay. This city is falling apart at the seams. Speaking again of the drought, I know you've been hearing about that, but perchance you've been hearing about all the water main breaks here in the city. We had one out there, I think it was in July, or either the first part of August. It was near UCLA, and a whole big chunk of the street shot out, and there was a big sinkhole, and just billions of gallons of water just spewing out. It damaged part of UCLA. It damaged one of the famed auditoriums or basketball court, you know, sports venues out there. People's cars, they underground, you know, parking. Cars were flooded because the cars were, in some cases, roof deep in this fresh water just spewing out in this drought-stricken state. And then there was just rash after rash of these water main breaks, because some of those pipes, those big humongous pipes that are underground, have been there since the early 1900s. And so, you know, some of them have succumbed to just erosion and rotting and breaking, and some of the soil that they were actually implanted in have eroded them and break. Okay, we need to fix that stuff. We need to fix these raggedy apartments. We need to get rid of some of these bastard landlords that are slumlords, or those that are just, you know, just a hairline sneaking through. We need to get rid of a lot of that stuff. But we need competent people to help us do it. We need competent government to run our countries, to run our states, to run our cities. And that's where I'm going to end this video. But think about it, you know, if you're living in substandard housing, get out there and tell somebody. Bang on some doors, whatever. Write your congressman for whatever that, you know, may do, or your senators or what have you. But make some noise, because something's got to be done about at least this problem. You are a consumer, and you're not getting your money's worth if you're staying in one of these slummy ass places. Excuse my French, but this really pisses me off to see people spending their hard-earned money and not getting their money's worth. If you're staying in one of these dumps, and they knock on your door with their hand out saying gimme, but you're getting bit up the ass with bugs, or you can't get proper ventilation, you're in there sweating buckets because there's no air conditioner, or they got a little stupid fan in there not doing the job. I mean, if they can't even provide air conditioning, at least put screen doors on the front door, so you can at least open the door and get a little cross ventilation. These bastards aren't willing or ready to do anything but take your money. So get on the phone, you know, knock on some doors, whatever you have to do to get your money's worth. Sorry it's been so long since videos, but you know, like I said, got to get out there and try to make it in this land of hard times, in the land of plenty. So if you're a supporter, thank you so much for all your support. If you'd like to become a supporter, please feel free to do so. The Facebook thing, I don't really care about Facebook that much, very rarely go on it, but if you'd like to request friendship on Facebook, I'm on there, and you can do that. And please continue to watch my videos. I hope you enjoy them. And as always, especially in this crazy time we live in, be careful, stay safe, and try to maintain some air of happiness. This is Phil saying thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.